YouTube, how we doing? Today we're going to be going into my first official mock draft of the 2023 NFL season. Now, before we get into it, I do want to apologize for such a big absence from the YouTube side of things. I just have not been able to do videos, and there's nothing really more complicated than that. And this might not be something that I'm going back into where I'm going to be uploading often, but definitely stay around, subscribe to the channel, and you'll be notified when I do upload, if I do continue to pump out these mock drafts and prospect grades, etc. But for now, I wanted to make this video. I had a mock draft that I was doing, and I was like, you know what? Let's turn the microphone on and let's do this video. So before we get into it, obviously, as you see on your screen, it's going to be a mix of what I would do and also what I believe the team will do. So it's not necessarily all just, if I was the GM of the Bears, I would do this. It's not just going to be that. It's kind of a mix of both. The player height and weight is according to Pro Football Network. I also should put on there that there is no trades in my mock draft. There might be one down the line where I do trades, but right now there isn't. Last but not least, if you guys aren't familiar with Underdog Fantasy, we are sponsored by them, and they are just amazing partners. And if you guys do use code Sormani, SORMANI, with your first deposit, they will match it up to $100. 100% of the time, they will match it for your first deposit. So it helps us out tremendously if you use that code. And also just a big shout out to Underdog Fantasy for the continued support. Without further ado, we're going to get right into it, and we'll start off with the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears are taking Will Anderson Jr., and the reason I have him going here is they might look to trade down, but obviously we're not doing trades here, but he's the best player in the class by far, in my opinion. I think we might be getting a little bit fatigued by how good he's been these past couple seasons, but coming off the edge, it's insane what he's able to do on the football field. It fills a need for the Bears. They get the best player in the draft, and I think if they were at pick 2, they would have taken him anyway, but obviously they lucked out, got the first overall pick, and he might even be possible to get if they do trade down with somebody like Indianapolis or something. At pick 2, the Houston Texans are going to select Bryce Young out of Alabama. He's a little bit undersized, and it's concerning. 194 pounds, 6 foot. We'll wait to see what the official combine grades are for his height and weight and such. But for right now, that's what we have of his. But he is the most talented quarterback in the class by far, in my opinion. I think that he's kind of in a league of his own. If he was 6'3", 220, we'd be talking about the number 1 overall pick. Even with Justin Fields there, we'd be talking about a generational guy, but he has all the talent. He has everything that you want in a quarterback and a franchise guy. It's just that size concern. At pick 3, we do have the Arizona Cardinals selecting Jalen Carter out of Georgia. He is, again, just another guy that just transcends everything and will take over this defensive line. The Cardinals are in a spot where they just need to take the best player available, and I think Jalen Carter is that guy. He's going to replace J.J. Watt on the D-line. He's going to absolutely wreak havoc, and hopefully the team will be under new coaching, new management as well. Hopefully they're able to, fill in a lot of the holes that they have in free agency and then come into this draft with a more set idea, and we'll see as we go on throughout this process. At pick 4, we have the Indianapolis Colts selecting Will Levis, quarterback out of Kentucky. 6'3", 231. He's got the size that you want at the quarterback position. And for me, this is one of those where it just feels like a match. The Colts and Will Levis, they just feel like they're destined for each other. I don't know why. I can't necessarily say that I have a source or something, but it just feels right. I don't know what it is, man. And I'm not the biggest Will Levis fan, but also I think that he's kind of this weird prospect where some people absolutely hate him and say like he shouldn't even be drafted, and there's people who think he's the number 1 overall selection. So it's a very fine line. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle between all of that. I think that he's a solid quarterback. He's not my number 1 or number 2 quarterback prospect as of right now, but he is going second out of the quarterbacks in this mock draft. He has all the upside. He has the tools. He has the athleticism. But the statistics and the turnovers that he had just don't look too great. So you're really banking on what you can develop him into at that next level. I don't know if Indianapolis is the best place for that, but I feel like they think that they're the best place for that. So I think Will Levis is going to be the selection here at pick 4. At pick 5, this is the Denver Broncos selection that was sent over in the Russell Wilson trade. I have the Seattle Seahawks taking Tyree Wilson, edge rusher out of Texas Tech. He is huge, 6'6", 276. He's lengthy, he's tall, but he has excellent bend off the edge. His burst off the line is superb, and Seattle has openly stated that they need edge help, and this is obviously a way to get that edge help. So you're getting a guy, a top 5 pick who can help out right away, get pressure into the quarterback, especially when you're in such a division that has normally been, one of the best in football. This year took a step back, but you're gonna have to chase after Kyler Murray, probably Trey Lance in San Francisco, depending on how that goes. Maybe Brock Purdy, but and then Stafford obviously is one of the better quarterbacks in the pocket when he's fully healthy. So you're going to need to get somebody to pressure these quarterbacks in the division. Tyree Wilson's going to be that guy. At pick 6, this is the Detroit Lions selection that they got from the Los Angeles Rams in the Jared Goff deal. I think it's a Jared Goff deal. I want to say it's a Jared Goff deal. But Bryan Bresee is the selection here. Now, this is early for Bresee. Even in my standards where I have him ranked pretty high, he's still a little bit high selected here. The reason why is interior defensive line dries up after Carter and Bresee. There really isn't anyone else with a first-round grade. We will talk about that later, though. There's other positions of need that the Lions have other than interior defensive line, but I think interior defensive line is a big enough need to where they could take a guy like Bresee here and know that they have pick 18 to fill out the other needs, where positions like corner that they might be looking at, or maybe receiver or something in those aspects, they're a lot more deeper, and you're able to find more of that in pick 18 and the second round and beyond. Here at pick 7, the Las Vegas Raiders are taking Peter Skoronski out of Northwestern, offensive tackle. He really can move around to guard as well if needed. He's agile, he's explosive, he's 6'4", 294, so he's built well as well. And I think that this is a best spot for them to take somebody to protect the successor to Carr rather than draft a successor to Carr without the protection to protect that person and setting them up for failure. So I think this is a great spot for them. They can go after a veteran. They're still a team that I think can compete in Las Vegas. Getting Skoronski is going to help out that line a ton, and I really do like the fit there. At pick 8, a surprise selection here. I got Anthony Richardson going to the Atlanta Falcons here. 6'4", 238. He's mobile. He's agile. He's got the arm strength out of this world. And his angles are amazing when he throws the ball. I mean, he's really able to contort his body and his arm to make some tough throws. A lot of people see him as a very developmental guy, but I think he has the highest upside at the quarterback position in this class. I really do. I think that he's that tantalizing of a prospect. I don't think the Falcons are going to be highly competitive in 2023. So selecting a guy like Richardson, you don't need to necessarily play him the whole season next year, or you can, get a veteran to ease his way in. Or there's a lot of ways you can go, but it really creates a plan for 2024 to take the league by storm. You'll have a quarterback that's been in the league for a year. You have Pitts and London, who have been in the league for years now, and whoever else you're able to get in free agency and the drafts leading up to that point, to where this team can really take over this division coming into the next season past 2023. Here at pick 9, I have the Carolina Panthers selecting C.J. Stroud out of Ohio State, 6'3", 218, solid size for a quarterback. I really like what Stroud is. He's got the highest ceiling. He's got the highest floor in this draft. It's a safe floor. But you look at guys like Levis and Richardson, they might have a higher ceiling depending on how you look at it. He kind of reminds me of Dak Prescott, where he has sneaky athleticism. He's able to get out of the pocket, but he's not necessarily a mobile quarterback. But he is the most pro-ready quarterback in the draft class, in my opinion, just based off of size and ability. Bryce Young obviously has all the tools to be the best pro-ready quarterback in the class, but the size is a concern. Here at pick 9, this is the Eagles selection from the Saints. I have them selecting Myles Murphy, edge rusher out of Clemson. He's an elite power rusher. He really is able to just overpower linemen with his strength and his length. But he also is able to maintain that athleticism while rushing with that power. You look at the Eagles D-line, they're not getting any younger, and you have Brandon Graham and Robert Quinn, who are both unrestricted free agents this offseason, so we'll see what happens with them. This fills a need. The rich get richer. Myles Murphy's a stud. Going into pick 11, I have the Titans selecting Paris Johnson Jr., Ohio State offensive tackle, 6'6", 315. This is a massive, massive human being. When you look at the Titans, Taylor Lewan is most likely a cap casualty. It's going to save them nearly $15 million to move on from Taylor Lewan this offseason, and that money can definitely be spent elsewhere, especially with some contracts on their books that they can't move off of yet. This is one that they can move off of, and they can replace easily with Paris Johnson Jr. to pair alongside with Petit Frere, who had a very solid rookie season. You need to protect what's left of Tannehill and the aging Derrick Henry, even though it looks like he shows no sign of aging. You want to protect them as best as you can and get ready for that predecessor. This is going to create a very good and young tandem at tackle in Tennessee, and I really do like the fit. At pick 12, I have the Houston Texans selecting Devon Witherspoon out of Illinois, 6', 181. He's a lengthy corner who's got outstanding ball skills and quick instincts. This is the pick that they got from the Deshaun Watson trade. This is one of the biggest risers on draft boards right now. Can he hold cornerback 1 for the rest of the offseason? We'll see how he grades out and everything. But when you look at it, Stingley needs somebody else opposite side of him on this defense. And this is the perfect way. You're getting your franchise quarterback, and you're creating a tandem in the secondary that is going to be young, but also just locked down for years to come. Here at pick 13, I have the New York Jets selecting Brian Branch, safety out of Alabama, 6', 194. Branch is going to look to play safety, which they lacked mightily in this last season. Their safety play was not good. He'll probably pair alongside Jordan Whitehead, who's still under contract for this next season, but again is looking like not exactly what they thought he was going to. He didn't have a horrible year, but he wasn't the best at the same time. But the thing with Brian Branch, what's awesome about him is he really can play anywhere in the secondary. He's outstanding when he plays in the nickel, and you really can move him around. So, whether you want to play him at the safety all the time, you want to move him in the box, you want to play him in nickel, you're able to move him around and create, a massive advantage in the secondary when you have guys like Sauce Gardner and Reed and now Brian Branch. So love this pick here for the New York Jets. At pick 14, I have the New England Patriots selecting Jordan Addison, the 6', 175-pound, yes, 175-pound receiver out of USC. He's the best route runner in the class. He's the best receiver in the class. The size is a concern, but so was Devontae Smith's size when he was coming out. That thin frame, you worry about it, but Smith has shown so far in his career that it's not going to hold him back from being a very productive NFL wide receiver. And when you look at the Patriots, if Mac Jones is going to be the guy, he needs weapons that he can use to prove that he can be the guy. The jury's still out on that, but Jordan Addison is going to absolutely help out this Patriots offense. At pick 15, I have the Green Bay Packers selecting Broderick Jones out of Georgia, offensive tackle, 6'4", 315. We all know they're not taking receiver. They might take a weapon like a tight end, but they're not taking a receiver. They just never do. And until I hear otherwise, I'm going to not mock them a receiver. Bakhtiari struggles to stay healthy. Neiman is a free agent. You have that open spot at right tackle, but also with Bakhtiari's injuries, who knows how long he's going to play. You could move him at left tackle if Bakhtiari decides that he wants to hang it up, or, if those injuries happen. Whether it's going to be Rodgers, Love, or somebody else at the quarterback position, they need time to create in this offense with the weapons that they have, and Broderick Jones is going to help out a ton with that. He's got length and strength, and those are the best two things to have as an offensive tackle going into the NFL. Here at pick 16, I have the Washington Commanders selecting Christian Gonzalez, a 6'2", 201-pound cornerback out of Oregon. Fuller's only got 1 year left on his deal, and other than that, it's pretty lackluster in that secondary, and it's killed the Commanders, especially this past year. You've seen teams kind of throw the ball all over them because of that, and it's why the Commanders they looked good for a little while, but it's why in the end they weren't able to hold up against other teams. They paid Will Jackson, but they got rid of him this year at the deadline because he was a failed experiment as well. You look at the Commanders, this is a team that could look to go into a quarterback, maybe if Anthony Richardson or Stroud or Levis or somebody falls to them here. But most likely if they do want to go quarterback, they're going to have to trade up into that top 10 to get one of them. But staying here, Christian Gonzalez is not a bad consolation prize. At pick 17, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers selecting Osiris Torrance out of Florida. He's 6'5", 335, a massive, massive offensive guard. And there's no bigger need for the Steelers than interior offensive line right now. He is the only guard right now that's worth first-round consideration. That can change throughout the draft process. But as of right now, he's the only one that I'm taking in the first round. Interior offensive line, not even just guard, center or guard. But he's got size and strength, which is going to help a guy like Najee bounce back from his season that is forgettable, and protect a guy like Pickett, who they're hoping is their franchise quarterback. At pick 18, I have the Detroit Lions selecting with their original pick, Joey Porter Jr., cornerback out of Penn State. He's 6'2", almost 200 pounds. So now the Lions select a cornerback that's going to be their number one corner, and they also added interior pressure from that Bryan Bresee pick earlier in the draft. That is a very solid draft for Dan Campbell's defense here. Porter has the size, and he's a master in man coverage. He's able to excel and shift his body. His hips are fluid. He's able to do a lot with the defense in man coverage and comeback routes, etc. So even if the team brings back a Royer, who's a free agent, they still need to defend better in the secondary. Okudah had a better year, his best season of his career, in my opinion, but still the jury's out on him. They need to get better at the position, and they're getting a very solid corner here in Joey Porter Jr. At pick 19, I have the Buccaneers selecting Lucas Van Ness, edge rusher out of Iowa, 6'5", 269 pounds. He is a beast, and he's young. He's a sophomore coming out of the draft. He's a redshirt sophomore. He's a top 10 talent according to Daniel Jeremiah, whose mock draft came out on Friday. And I like Van Ness, as a first-round grade, but I still have him a little bit lower than what Jeremiah has him at. But he attacks off the edge, but also destroys the run game, which is the best of both worlds, obviously, as an edge rusher. He was a freshman All-American, but that was while he was playing in the interior of the defensive line. He moved to edge this season. I think he's going to be fluid at that next level at the edge position. At pick 20, I have the Seattle Seahawks selecting Jackson Smith-Njigba, 6 foot, 198 pounds, out of Ohio State. Lockett's not getting any younger, and the depth behind him and Metcalf is pretty lackluster. If Geno's re-signing, he's now going to have a trio of receivers to aid him, which is going to help him out a ton, which they definitely lacked in the postseason, not having enough weapons to throw to. Metcalf obviously was balling out, but you need to have more than one weapon to make it to that next level. And Smith-Njigba is considered by many to have the highest ceiling at the receiver position in this draft class. So you're adding that to an offense with Lockett, who's not getting younger, and Metcalf, who is one of the best young receivers in the NFL. And now you have a guy with the ceiling to be even better than what Metcalf is. I think that's an amazing pick for the Seattle Seahawks. Here at pick 21, I have a surprise selection here. The Chargers are going to be selecting Darnell Washington, tight end out of Georgia. He's 6'7", 265. This is a massive human being at the tight end position. He was a former 5-star recruit in Georgia, and obviously with Bach Bowers there, it just wasn't going to be able to get as much production as you'd want from a tight end in Georgia, but that's nothing necessarily to his fault. That's just, a surplus that Georgia had, which is, great for them. It's why they're back-to-back champions. But the thing that I love most about Darnell Washington and why I love his fit in San Diego, he is the best blocking tight end in this class. He's basically a sixth offensive lineman. And when you have a guy like Austin Eckler in the backfield who really is explosive and can do a lot, having somebody who can block as well as be 6'7", so a red zone threat and a receiving threat, you're adding another weapon to this pass game that desperately needs more weapons. I like Palmer, Allen, and Mike Will, but Mike Will and Allen are getting up there in age. Mike Will's late 20s and Keenan Allen's early 30s. But you need more weapons in this pass game, and you're getting a guy who's basically an offensive lineman who can catch the ball. That's amazing. Here at pick 22, I have the Baltimore Ravens selecting Kelee Ringo out of Georgia. He's 6'2", 205 pounds. Every year there's a player that falls due to overanalyzation, and I think Ringo might be that player. We're falling in love with a lot of other corners. It's why Ringo's not my top corner, but I still have him as a first-round grade, a top 25 pick. He's easily can be the best corner in this class in a few years, it's a wait-and-see game, but he has the size and physicality to go along with his game. And yes, his stats aren't the greatest, but who's daring to throw his way, especially at Georgia? They're not going to Kelee Ringo, so I don't really look too much deep into the stats. I watch the film more, and Ringo is a very solid corner who would easily be one of the best corners in Baltimore the day he steps into the field. Here at pick 23, I have the Minnesota Vikings selecting Trenton Simpson out of Clemson, 6'3", 225. He's very reminiscent of another guy who is a Clemson alum. That is Isaiah Simmons. He can play safety, nickel, inside linebacker, even on the edge. That's what Simpson is bringing to the table for this defense. So he's just an absolute weapon to add to this defense. You look at Eric Kendricks, who's a free agent. Are they going to bring him back? Possibly, most likely, but Simpson can add to that and become the best linebacker that they have if they let go of Kendricks, obviously. But they could go corner here, obviously. We know corner is a big need. But, again, corner has a lot of depth in this class. There's a lot of corners, so they can look towards, day 2 for that. But they could take the best linebacker in the draft at pick 23. I think you go best player available. You go with the best player in the class, and you trust your drafting and your development as well because there's a lot of young guys in that secondary. Here at pick 24, another surprise selection, and I said we were going to talk about another defensive tackle earlier. This is where we're at. Siaki Ika out of Baylor, 6'4", 351 pounds. Again, just a massive human being. I haven't seen Ika in a lot of mocks, but I love what he can do because he's just a disruptor. He forces 2 linemen onto him. So is he taken out of the play most of the time? I'm not going to lie. Yes, he is taken out of the play a lot of the time because he's taken up 2 linemen. When you add him to a team that has Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker on the edge, and you're now creating havoc in the middle to where it's going to create one-on-ones for these guys, it's going to create a monster of a defense for this Jaguars team who's still in the playoffs as I'm recording this. So I love the pick here for Ika. A little earlier than I've seen him in other places, but again, I think a team like this could use a guy like Siaki Ika. At pick 25, I have the New York Giants selecting Quentin Johnston, 6'4", 212 pounds, out of TCU. A fairy tale run with Isaiah Hodgins and Ricky James just isn't sustainable for the future. And you look at it, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, Richie James, they're all free agents. Quentin Johnston, reminds me of what Golladay was in Detroit, and now he can be a mentor to Quentin Johnston if he is retained. Obviously, it's a big cap hit if they do let him go, but at some point, you have to decide if it's even worth keeping him in the clubhouse. But you look at it, if they go into next season with Johnson and Hodgins on the outside and Wan'Dale Robinson on the inside, that's the best receiving core that Daniel Jones has had in his career. And is that saying a lot? No, it's not. But it proves a lot for a team that is on a fairy tale run. It's going to add a weapon, and a big weapon at that. At pick 26, I have the Dallas Cowboys selecting Bijan Robinson, Texas running back, 6', 220. This is the most out of the ordinary pick that's going to be in my mock draft, but you got to hear me out here. This is Jerry Jones we're talking about. He wants to keep the Texas product in the state. He wants to make that big splash. He wants to just get somebody that is going to make this team better, and that's what Bijan Robinson is going to do. He's a top 5 talent in this draft, the best running back coming out since Saquon Barkley. And you look at it, Tony Pollard's a free agent, and he's probably going to get paid a good amount of money by a team. So you're going to lose Pollard most likely. And Zeke's losing that explosivity. Even though he had a solid year statistically, just watching him on film and in game, he just isn't the same Zeke that we're used to seeing in his earlier years. And most likely will be a cap casualty in the next few seasons because his cap hit does dwindle down these next few years, but he is still under contract for a while. But you're going to get your franchise running back and franchise replacement for Zeke and Bijan Robinson and create a nasty tandem for at least a season if you keep on to Zeke and Bijan. Here at pick 27, I have the Cincinnati Bengals selecting Michael Mayer, tight end out of Notre Dame, 6'4", 251 pounds. Now, the thing with Mayer is he's regarded to most as the most complete tight end in this class. He can block. He can be a red zone threat. He can do things after the catch. He can pretty much do it all. And the more weapons you can add to the Cincinnati Bengals offense for Joe Burrow is going to be even scarier for the NFL. But when you look at it, Hayden Hurst right now is an unrestricted free agent. They're probably not going to bring him back if I had to guess, so you're replacing him. And also you look at T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, who only have one more season left under contract. And it's going to be hard to pay those guys when you have to pay Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase in the future. So getting another weapon like Michael Mayer on a rookie deal, it's going to help out a ton. I love this selection as it fills a team need, but also just creates a scary tandem with Higgins, Boyd, Jamar Chase, Michael Mayer, all getting thrown the ball from Joe Burrow with Mixon in the backfield. The offense just gets better. Here at pick 28, the Denver Broncos are going to be selecting Nolan Smith, edge rusher out of Georgia. This is the pick that Miami sent to them in the Bradley Chubb deal from San Francisco. So a little trivia to find out where the pick came from originally. But long story short, they need to replace the production that they sent away with Chubb. And you look at Nolan Smith, he's got a quick first step, and he's got the length to separate. He's thinner than the other options at the position, but when he's on the field, he produces, and that's all that matters to me. I just need a guy who produces. It's not all about, it's more about the intangibles than it is about what I think your frame should be. If you can produce, you can produce. Here at pick 29, I have the Buffalo Bills selecting Kayshon Boutte, 6 foot, 205 pounds, out of wide receiver university, LSU. The Bills can go with upside here while also filling a need because Boutte is as athletic as it gets in the wide receiver class. You don't have to worry about signing Cole Beasley in the playoffs and having him literally catch a touchdown. And you look at it, Gabe Davis and Isaiah McKenzie only have one more year left on their deals as well. Boutte had not the greatest season in college football, but neither did LSU, and LSU really hasn't been the same since Burrow left. But Boutte was considered probably, him and Jackson Smith and Jigba were looked at as the best receivers in this class coming into this season, in my opinion. Boutte has fallen down a little bit, but the upside is still there. Adding him to an offense with Josh Allen throwing the ball, opposite of Diggs, where he can learn a lot from, I think Boutte is in a perfect situation here. At pick 30, the Kansas City Chiefs are going to select Felix Anudike-Uzomah out of Kansas State, 6'4", 254. Chiefs just need edge presence, and they're going to fill a need here. I think Uzomah is the next best thing at the edge position in the class at this point in time. He's long and he's lengthy, which is going to benefit a lot off the edge, especially when you have a guy like Chris Jones eating the middle up. You can't go wrong here for the Chiefs. They're at this selection because of how good their team is. They're just going to add to that by getting Felix Anudike-Uzomah. Last but not least, I have the Philadelphia Eagles selecting Antonio Johnson, a defensive back out of Texas A&M. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. He really can play anywhere on the defense, but I see him as a safety. That's why I would align him best. C.J. Gardner-Johnson is set to hit free agency. Can they bring him back? It's up to, there's a lot of gymnastics to go through because Jalen Hurts has to get paid soon. A.J. Brown just got paid a big deal. So there's a lot of things that you're still paying Lane Johnson, et cetera. So there's a lot of things to do. But you look at Antonio Johnson, he can play safety, coverage well, but what I love is he is so good at getting in the box and going on the edge and just blitzing. He is so good. He shreds the blocks of receivers and tight ends so well. He's able to disrupt plays. He really can play any position on the defense, and he plays it very well to a high ability. I really like Antonio Johnson. But that is going to be it for the first official mock draft. What did you guys think of it? Let me know in the comment section below. If you guys did enjoy the video, please be sure to leave it a like as it does help me out a ton. If you're glad to see me back, just show that love in the comment section below. I missed you guys very much, and I appreciate all the support that is going to come from this and that is shown in the past as well, as we're nearing 1,000 subscribers. If you want to help us reach that goal, that'd be awesome. But again, let me know in the comment section below what you would do differently, how you view my mock draft. And without further ado, that's going to be it for me. I'll see you guys in the next one.